Welcome back to Martins and More. My name's Maury Rutch.
And I'm Spoon Phillips.
And this episode's brought to you by our Patreon members. Join our growing community for early access to every episode, exclusive video versions of the podcast, behind-the-scenes footage, full-length product demos, and more. We appreciate you. Spoon, you got a new shirt.
I did indeed. I have a brand new Martin shirt. I'm upping my wardrobe for Martins and More.
Where did you buy that?
Well, I bought it at the gift shop at CF Martin & Company on Martinfest weekend.
Martinfest weekend? What is that?
Well, you know very well what it is. Martinfest is an unofficial gathering of members of the unofficial Martin Guitar Forum and their friends that has been happening since the day you and I met in August of 2002 at the very first event that later became known as Martinfest.
And aren't you going to ask me about my shirt?
No.
Right back on track. All right, let's talk about Martinfest. Jerk.
Yes, Martinfest. This is going to be our Martinfest recap show. It's every year is different. Every year, well, there are certain people, about approximately 9 of us now, that have actually been to every single one of them, including you and me. But for the most part, people come when they can. For some people, it was their very first one, their second one, their third one, their fourth one. And, you know, we've got people who have been coming since the early days that keep coming back when they can. And so it's almost become like a family reunion for a lot of us. Some of these people are our favorite people, and yet we literally only see them once a year at Martinfest, which happens over a weekend in the summer. This year it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, July 26, 27, 25, 26, 27. And so which made me have to miss my sister's birthday, so I'll make that up to you, sis. And but as one Martinfest person recently posted on the UMTF that their son said, "Dad, you look forward to this as much as Christmas." And he said, "Well, almost as much as Christmas." But yes, for many of us, it has that same feeling of the approach of Martinfest and the revelry of Martinfest. And we're already ready for next Martinfest.
Yep, we really are. It's funny. I do catch a couple of people saying as much on Sunday afternoon, knowing that Sunday is the last day for some people, and then others actually make more time out of it, and they stay at the hotel Sunday night, get a little bit more jamming in, and then they count Monday as Martinfest as well. But a lot of people that only came for 1 or 2 days were caught talking about how fun it's going to be next year. So it's one of those things, not unlike when Lori and I would go on a cruise, and before we actually get to our room, she's looking at how to book the next one. A Martinfest makes you want to go back, even after you're not done being at the one you're at. And it's being there 22 years. I know Spoon and I have a unique perspective that maybe not many other people really do. Although there are some people that have been going to Martinfest for 15, 16 years that if you put them in a lineup, I would casually think they might have been at the first one, because it feels like there's a clear divide where some people that have only been at a couple and maybe in the last 4 or 5 years, they're clearly sort of new. And then there's an old regime that doesn't always date right back to literally the first or second one. But there are other guys that I was talking to at the pavilion on Sunday who have been there since like Martinfest 4 or Martinfest 5, and it feels like they were there when we were there the second year, so it kind of blurs together. But I think this is going to be a fun episode, mostly because, like every other episode across 5 seasons, it's unscripted. We haven't talked much about what we're going to do today, except just ask each other, what kind of a great time did you have, and what were the highlights? Lowlights that we probably don't have to spend a ton of time going into are obviously those people that we missed, people that couldn't be there, people that aren't with us anymore. I won't tell Spoon what to say. I don't want to steer this program too far, too long into why certain people will never be there again. And we certainly had a very somber Sunday. But top to bottom, minus the fact that some people could not share it with us, it really was one of the most fun Martinfest I've had in a long time. Yeah,
for a variety of reasons. And one of them was the amazing weather. Yes.
Yeah. It's funny. There's some kind of a law with physics where it's going to be X amount hot in August from the morning of the first day to the evening of the last day. And somehow, scientifically, they figured out how to take all the heat and humidity out of the afternoons and put them in 3 rooms in the sure stay in the evenings. And I thought that was pretty convenient, you know.
Well, it's earlier this year. It's actually in July, as it was last year. It's gotten a little earlier in recent years. But one thing that has not changed is why we're there and basically what we do. Some people don't really know exactly what's going on there, and that includes somebody who was there for the first time who had a green dot on their name tag, which the green dots are the new people, and they get the green dot so people will seek them out and make them feel especially welcome. And I think all of the green dots last year came back this year. And I think all of the green dots this year will probably come back next year. But this particular green dot, they thought Martinfest was a music festival. And they had seen footage and videos of the street fair that Nazareth, Pennsylvania has called Martin on Main that is actually not officially part of Martinfest, though some of us take part in that at some of the performances at that street fair. So they were surprised to find that it was primarily like a family reunion and friends getting together, talking, laughing, eating and drinking together, playing guitars, checking out each other's guitars, which is a big part of it. Mm. And so I'm going to be focusing throughout this program on some of the amazing Martin guitars that I got to see over the weekend, and the fact that one of the highlights for a lot of people, and like you say, we've been at it a while, so we're somewhat jaded, but for people who have not been around that many Martin guitars, for the opportunity to see some of these legendary models, including some absolutely spectacular vintage Martins that people will bring and just say, here, you know, they don't even know you, and they'll put their amazing pre-war Martin in your lap and let you play it. So it's, you know, first and foremost, it's officially about Martin guitars. And then unofficially, it's about the camaraderie that has developed and the people who come in on their first Martinfest and leave feeling like they belong there and can't wait to come back. So, but yes, it was beautiful weather. Basically, maybe a little too hot for golf, but lower humidity than normal. We did not get the torrential downpours that we typically get at Martinfest. Again, that may be because it's no longer on the first weekend of August. But we were very fortunate to be able to get together, even if the air conditioning conked out in all of the song circle rooms. So it was. I borrowed somebody's quip and I changed a little bit, but saying you had choices of 3 rooms. You had very hot, purgatory, and Hell's Half Acre was basically your options. So
wow, I'm really sorry I never found the very hot room.
Well, you were sitting very hot on the guitar, I have to say.
Well,
particularly when we were playing together and you were playing some lead guitar stuff. So, but. So day one at Martinfest this year, people gathered together at the Long Pavilion, which is an open-air pavilion with a big roof and a lot of picnic tables and a concrete floor at the Long Pavilion. And it was relatively speaking, a small turnout on Friday. Several of us took tours of the factory and saw the museum and played in the picking parlor and went to the gift shop. And then we had lunch over across from the Martin Visitors Parking Lot. There's a new restaurant called the Caddy Corner that is a pizza place, but they also have an extensive menu of sandwiches and entrees, and and good air conditioning and good cold beer on tap and all of that. Yeah. And you could easily walk to the park from that location, and a few people actually did that, left their cars at Martin and walked over. But and that day was more of the reunion day, people just sitting around catching up. Some people were, checking out guitars. I'm going to limit my mentioning of names, but we have a good friend named Bob who brings some of his outstanding Stradivarius level pre-war Martins for people to play. and he had a 1934 long scale 00028 that is one of the best guitars I've ever played. He also had a 1944 D28 on hand, and I'm pretty sure he had his 1937 D18, though I never actually saw it. But some people were getting a chance to play that. And people, of course, like to put their guitars in my hands for me to check out. But that was a nice, quiet day with good weather to kind of catch up before things really got underway on Friday night.
Yeah, Friday was really good. Maybe we'll play some trivia. We don't want to drop too many names on camera, but how about you ask me and I ask you, who was the first NASFester or Martinfester that you saw when you actually arrived on the scene? And I can tell you, when I got there Friday, I actually met some friends at Martin before I got to join in with lunch at Caddy Corner. So my pulling into Nazareth, feeling about half past dead, the actual event happened for me in the Martin parking lot. I bumped into this person's name. So you can guess, and I'll tell you later. And I want to guess who the first person you bumped into, but tell me where it was.
Well, I actually arrived on Wednesday because my longtime friend, we've been friends since freshman year, he came in on Wednesday to Tuesday to get a much cheaper flight. So he picked me up, after we got out of the airport, and we came out. Last year when we did that on Wednesday night, we ran into a fella who was relatively new. My friend, this is his fourth Martinfest, and I think the other guy, it's either his third or fourth. It's probably his fourth. But that was not the first people I ran into. There were apparently some people there Wednesday night. I did not know that. But on Thursday morning, my friend's a Westerner, so he stayed in bed after staying up way too late because he couldn't wait to start playing songs. So he was running through all his repertoire of songs and getting his 1960s baritone ukulele all set up, a B51 all mahogany baritone uke, and so I got up early, went down to catch the free breakfast, and as I was coming out with my coffee to go sit down, I ran into a lovely couple that come from the West Country in England who had come over. They were Green Dots last year. I had such a fantastic time that they, had to come back. So those were my, you don't have to guess that one. In terms of the old guard, I'll let you guess. Well, I'm bumping my camera, sorry. But I'd have to think about that. Who was it? I think I remember, and I'll tell you, your hint is he's a member of the 22-year club.
That makes me wonder if we have the same person. I won't name him right now, but he owns a 1970s D41. I think this just got weird.
Nope. The guy that I'm talking about has a birth year 00028, and I think it's a birth year 00028. He's known for his 00028s. I guess it's, who this is now, HD 0028H, and then he eventually got a Brazilian Rosewood late 60s 0028, and I think that's giving it away. But anyway, great to see him, and then Thursday night, we did have a song circle. There was enough, there was 11 players and probably another 6 listeners. So that was great. I mean, people just cannot wait to set their keisters down on a chair in their first Martin song circle for over a year, and either share new songs or songs that they love to play and oftentimes that other people love to hear because we only get to hear them once a year. But very good time, heard by all. Were you there Thursday night? You were there Thursday night, weren't you?
I was going to work into a nice smooth segue that just got derailed. I got there Thursday, but didn't stay over. I took a look at my...
Oh, that's right.
I had to take a look at the finances this year. We're not a Martin dealer anymore officially, so I'm not rolling in money like I used to be. And so I got there Thursday in the spirit of catching some video, saying hi to some friends, checking things out. And then I went home so I could wake up in my own bed, feed the cats. I ended up getting back in time to have as much fun as I could on Friday. But I'm sure the thing is, I typically wouldn't want to leave Thursday night and not stay over because I miss all the fun. But I recognized this year I was smart enough to not stay awake until 3:30 or 4:30 or 5:30, like some people did, at least on a couple of extra days. And I don't want to jump ahead too far into the story, but one of the funniest things at Martinfest for me was the Spoon's Journal. What's it called again? Martinfest Journal of Adventure.
Martinfest Journal of Adventure.
All right. So I'm reading Spoon's Martinfest Journal of Adventure in between uploading and editing 104 videos of the whole weekend, and I did get to see in the it's when you read things, not necessarily what they are. I got to read a sentence that said, "I'm really exhausted. I'm gonna get some rest now," and it was 1:05. And I have it on good authority on some people that actually came to see me the next day. 1:05 turned into 5:05. You are full of it if you think anybody reading that believes you went to bed at 1 a.m. because you did not.
I'll have to check that out. It might be a typo. But here is something
Maybe.
for the real Martin guitar aficionados and nerds. In that song circle, now this is just purely from memory, there was an OMM John Redburn, which is a slot head OM with Madagascar rosewood and an alpine spruce top and a Celtic dragon on the headstock. And that guitar has matured so well over the years. It's so great to be able to see these guitars once a year. And the woman who owns it has a magnificent, beautiful, full singing voice. And she finally has a model that is worthy of her singing voice. Another very cool guitar, OM, was a Sinker Mahogany OM, the ones that Droon Guitars order special from Martin, with an Adirondack spruce top. Nothing special, no hide glue, no VTS top. Fantastic guitar. It has a very low high performing artist neck shape, which is unusual even by Droon standards.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a spectacular guitar. How about a D1218 or is that what they call them? D1218 or D1812? I think it's D1218. How many people even have ever seen 14 fret D1218, let alone turned down to D for some really sonorous, robust Celtic ballads, and some of which were actually in Gaelic or Irish, as it's now called, and let's see, what else was in that? There was a D35, custom D35 that has a painting by Robert Getzel. Though Michael Dickinson tells me he's no longer paying Mike a quarter for every time his name gets mentioned on our program. But a custom, it's custom made for this person who had a beautiful scene of a lake and shade trees and two Adirondack chairs. So that was very cool. There were so many others. There was this one guy has this like OM28V that is just beaten up. Clearly didn't respect his guitar. It's got a big hole in it. I mean, what do you think? He's Willie Nelson? But sounds great, and people certainly enjoyed playing that. And that Triple O 28 from 1934 was there.
Yeah.
And I know I'm missing some that I really want to mention, but that's all I can think of right now. Did you have you didn't have your D45 out on Thursday, did you?
I don't think I did Thursday, but as you remember models, just shout and interrupt because I don't want to forget them either. And I know we're not going to drop a ton of names, but before I forget, I don't want to be too cryptic. One of my biggest surprises, and I don't mean this in a backhanded way, was Tony Phillips playing way across the room. It was his turn to do a song, and when he was finished, he told me he was an open D. I said, "Would you mind if I'd play that?" And everybody has a story like this, and I think I'm already over it. I've been playing so many Martin guitars at 22 Martin Fests. You think nothing would surprise me. His guitar sounded very loud and full across the room, and when I got to play it, it almost vibrated off my lap onto the floor, back to him. It was so...
ran away from you.
I feel awful to say I'm not even sure what it was. It was probably. Does he have a D18 GE that he tunes down or something along those lines? Oh my God.
Well, he's had a variety of. I know he's got. Well, you would have known if it was a D18 Gordon Lightfoot. You would have recognized that. I think with the special inlays. Oh, was it? Was
no,
it a
GE Golden Era. I didn't mean, but it was a Burst.
Oh, a Burst.
Something he has in
That
Burst
might-
is so loud.
Yeah, and he's actually acquired quite a few guitars recently, so it may be something that is new to him. But was it 14
Well, he
fret or
brought
12
eight.
fret?
I think 14 fret, but he brought 8 guitars.
Okay,
He said he
all right.
just got done putting them away.
Yeah.
And we're recording this like a week after
Days
Martinfest.
later.
This episode's probably not going to air. You're probably watching this episode a month after Martinfest, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Hopefully Tony is done putting his stuff away. I brought 2 guitars and I felt tired, but yeah, it's going to be a pointless, silly episode to try to remember all the names and all the guitars. But I guess it's easier for me to say I didn't play a Martin I wasn't impressed by, and I didn't. Maybe the only negative is I didn't get to really be bold enough to say. I mean, I caught a couple of people and said, I'm playing that. They said, yeah, definitely. And I said, no, in a moment. And then I never did do it. I walked somewhere else. And that's part of the curse. Trying to videotape every single song at Martinfest is stupid because you never get them all. Not everybody wants to be on camera, and you missed playing a lot of instruments. But some of them really made a big impression on me. You know.
Well, I think everybody was very impressed with the efforts you made to capture so many performances in the song circles for posterity, for
Thank
people
you.
to have, whether they just want them privately or are happy to have them shared on our Patreon site, which, by the way, you can join for free. There is a free tier that would allow you to see some of these amazing guitars and performances from Martinfest, and a lot of good-natured horsing around, because we had a spectacular time. Everybody was, just cracking up all over the place, cracking each other up. The humor was definitely a big part of that friendship and music weekend.
If you don't believe
Yeah,
that, find the Michael Dickinson video from the Martin on Main booth.
No comment. But yeah, so Thursday night was a bonus. It's kind of Martinfest Eve. In the past, we used to have an opening night party. That hasn't happened for several years in terms of something organized. We may move back to that next year. Our hospitality room is a good ways away from where we're allowed to put out food and drink. Was a good ways away from the song circle. So it was basically a refuge because of the extra cold AC in there compared to the sweat lodges that we were performing in. But yeah, so Friday night, that's when the bigger crowd started to arrive. That's when former visiting artists that had come in as special guests, but have liked Martinfest so much they just became friends with everybody, and they just come back every year just to play. That's where they were. There was a jam room set up for people who wanted to. Everybody tried to play the same song, whether it's classic rock or folk or country stuff. There was then the song circle room, and next to the song circle room is where some of the super refined fingerstyle players play. It's a fellow from Long Island who he probably doesn't. I don't even know he wants people to know this, but actually. As a lad, took lessons from Reverend Gary Davis, and so amazing fingerstyle, and another fella who prefers OMs that came in, and that one guy has a spectacular size F Martin, one of their old archtops that years ago, before he got it, was converted into a flat top, and presenting rosewood back in size, beautiful ancient saw marks on it and all that stuff. The other guy's an OM picker. Which is a giveaway for anybody who knows the UMGF handles on the forum. And both of them are big Chet heads, Chet Atkins stuff, and Tom Bresch stuff, who's a lot of people may not know is Merle Travis's son. Those kind of tunes, they know a lot of those tunes together. So that was certainly a highlight. And speaking of OMs, I'll have to point out the OM 18 Golden Era that a friend of ours bought when it was 20 years old. Really beautiful sounding guitar, really for a mahogany Adirondack, really full, warm instrument. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't even guess it was mahogany if they heard it, in just a recording. But
Wow.
so I enjoyed playing that. Talk a little more about some of the other guitars coming up. And then also dining out. Some people would go out to restaurants. Some people would eat at the restaurant in the hotel. Some people, my first 2 nights, we got just stuff either ordered in or got something over at Wegmans, which was just across from the highway from the hotel. But other people like to go out to have a good meal out, and so. As Maury once said, you lose too much guitar time when you do that. But fortunately, there's a place just down the highway from the hotel, so that made it easier. And it's a very spectacular Bethlehem Italian restaurant called Dolce Mama, which if you're ever in that area, highly recommended. Very reasonably priced for what you get. And then do you have any particular memories from Friday before we head into the weekend?
Just that it went too fast. I don't have anything that it's got to really make this report, except for it really, again, the weather was really nice outside. All the humidity came inside. Friday night I actually got to play a little bit more than I did on Saturday afternoon and Saturday. And I remember thinking, this would be a great time to rehearse what we're going to play on Martin on Main. And I don't know why I didn't choose that and go ahead and do it. But Friday night was just a lot of fun. And it's...
we did it Friday briefly. Probably let people know that you didn't know the song that I chose, and I chose the other 2 songs, and I didn't know them. So, but you were kind enough to send me a video with some chords that didn't show your hands, so I couldn't see what they were. And then you sent a second one that did show your hands, but I never had time to look at it. So it was it was a loose and interesting Saturday morning. But yes, on Saturday, they have a street fair, as I mentioned, called Martin on Main. And they have, merchants are out and there's food trucks. And they have a big fancy stage at the bottom of their main street there that has local artists from around the area that's run by the Nazareth Arts Center. I'm afraid I don't remember the exact name of the organization. And then up in the town square, there was a smaller stage that we used to run every year. We didn't have it this year. They has something to do with the Chamber of Commerce being absorbed by a larger Chamber of Commerce, whatever. So there was a guy we didn't know running it, and he had basically packed it with people from his open mic. And then some of us, like me, got a call at less than a week from me going there and saying, wanted to know if I wanted to fill a slot. So I asked Maury to play with me because last year was the first time we've ever really performed together in public. And my voice was completely roached from singing on that Friday night. So I tried not to do that this year. And so it came off better this year, I think. But we performed early. Again, beautiful weather under the shade of a big shade tree.
Yeah.
Martin has a booth at the back with guitars for people to play. Mike Dickens is there working very hard when he's not being harassed by people like us. And some really wonderful performances, both by some of the community people and some of our own people, including a couple of women with magnificent professional singing voices. And that's not even the one I mentioned from Thursday night. So that was a treat. But we missed going down to the pavilion. We got so caught up there. And the guest that I brought really wanted to stay and watch all of the performances. So we did not get down to the park at all. But in a couple of minutes, I want to read an excerpt from somebody's post about what went on Saturday at the park. You didn't get down there either, did you?
I did very late. And I had it in my mind, and you have to picture, coming from a point of view where Lori and I work here, and we have to make every moment productive or we sink. I bring that mentality and that aggression when I'm on vacation and when I'm enjoying myself. And I told myself Saturday morning when I woke up and had my coffee and got fueled up and tried to look the day in the eye and say, I'm going to do this today. What I meant to do was head to Martin on Main, hook up with Spoon, play our set, maybe get a video from Mike Dickinson, and then go down and enjoy all the fun down at the pavilion, probably trying to make it back and play a set with Becca and John Hall, and then go back to the pavilion. That quickly turned into play our set and then stay at the Martin on Main the entire time. So after Becca and John started, hopped on stage with them, and I did make it a point, after we did our very thorough professional video with Mike Dickinson, I did make it down to the park for about 2 hours, and it was much better than not going there at all. And I struggle with this, and I answered this post on the UMGF about what did you like and what didn't you like about this Martinfest. If I was in charge of everything and could tell everybody where to be, I would have had all those people that I talked to for an hour at the fest playing with them at the pavilion. So it was in my mind that I would play a couple songs on stage and play a lot of music under the pavilion with friends, totally casually, and then make it back to play a few with John. It didn't work out that way, and it's really not that much different from every year when I'm walking from song circle to room, and whatever crowd you want to join in with, it means you're not joining in with the other one. You can't be everywhere at once, even if you want to try to be. The only thing I would do different is tell everybody where I want them to be at every time, and then make sure that whenever I want to play and sing with somebody, they're not somewhere else and I'm not on a stage, but that doesn't make any sense. So I had a great time.
Well, I know exactly how you feel. I thought I was going there to perform, was going to watch a couple of acts and then head down the hill. But we just got caught up there. And like I said, my guest who was there for the first time was really digging the live performances through the PA there. So we stayed. This is a fella who has been coming to Martinfest on and off. Good example of someone who's come to early ones but then couldn't come for years, that sort of thing. And he said, he actually mentions first getting together with people on Friday night, including another guy who was here for the very first 2 or 3 and then could not come for personal reasons for a very long time. And last year was his first return. And you got to remind me to tell this story before we're finished, because it'll give you an idea of the dedication some people have to Martinfest. But he is saying, I burned up the Fred on a couple of bluegrass standards, Whiskey Before Breakfast, and the wreck of the old 97. It was probably rude and crude and not fair to the rest of the room, as it seemed nobody else could comprehend what we were doing with fast chord changes and dueling solo breaks. I guess that was from the jam room. Saturday, woke up, went down to the Foundry restaurant for breakfast, then went back to my room to sleep some more. I'm paraphrasing a lot of this to keep some details out. Out at the pavilion, I enjoyed playing Bob's 1944 D28. At some point, the little crowd gathered around one of our former visiting artists and her fiddle. The group included another longtime performer who's got a Celtic band in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and he was playing on a dobro. Another guy was playing on a mandolin that's unnamed, and then, let's see here. What did we play? I'm not sure of all the tunes, but for sure, Blackberry Blossom, Over the Waterfall, Red-Haired Boy, Ragtime Annie, Cherokee Shuffle, Billy in the Low Ground, Clinchbound Backstep, Old Joe Clark, and more. And he's saying a far cry from classic rock, which is what you get a lot of at Martinfest. So it was nice to see some bluegrass, although I wasn't there. Nice to hear that bluegrass was going on at the pavilion again. We used to have a lot more bluegrassers in the early days. But that's just give you one idea of, and then at the end of the end, he moved out west some years ago from the East Coast, and his life is such that he does not know whether or not he can come back to another Martinfest, and he was really, it was quite moving for him to be here again. And then at the wee hours, before the weest hours, he had the room do a big, huge sing-along of Will the Circle Be Unbroken as his official farewell to Martinfest. But hopefully he'll be back. Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, I hope so, too. I won't name him. I'll keep everything nice and private, but I really do hope things work out, that he's thinking he can't be back here and he ends up accidentally showing up for the next 10. And I want to find out next time he's here how he was able to bottle fire, because he gave me some kind of scotch that felt like it was consistency of liquid hot magma, but it was both liquid that could pass past your tongue and flame. And I'm already on record as you guys give me like big boy drinks and I can't handle them because I just don't do it. And I'm not against it. I'm just not good at it. But my God, so one of the things Reese posted somewhere was one of his best memories this year was my face at trying what that was, and my, whatever You can't. You have to be the top level Patreon to see the face I just made. But my goodness, it was a
Now,
sin how much people enjoyed my reaction. You know.
I have to correct you. He brought bourbon. He brought, well, not bourbon. He brought a Colorado whiskey, and I guess he did bring a bourbon and a Colorado whiskey. So I suspect it was the Colorado whiskey. You know, a good old fashioned red eye. You know, cowboy red eye. But he was passing that around while we had the Scotch bottles going. Though it could have been one of the bottles of Scotch that was there. We had it's a tradition to have a single malt bar, but in recent years, since nobody goes to their hospitality room, it's actually sitting in the song circles. And so Saturday and Sunday night both, the fellow from England had a bottle of from the Isle of Jura, and I had either a bottle from the Isle of Isla or the Orkney Islands, and there was another one actually from the Highlands as well, depending on what night it was and what it was. And we have little, not Dixie cups, but little plastic cups. And a lot of people who don't normally drink that stuff were helping themselves and have a pretty good time of it.
Yeah. And actually, if I can interrupt here, I do want to say that as much as we're having so much fun remembering the great time, I want to be careful we don't paint the wrong picture. This isn't a weekend of people getting loaded, and this isn't anything irresponsible. If you don't drink, if you really do not like to be around people who do drink, and if you don't enjoy that, you wouldn't even know it. It's very, very tasteful, pun unintended. We're remembering some really funny moments across hours and hours. A lot of people are drinking water. A lot of people are sipping responsibly. It's nothing to be like, oh my God, I wouldn't have a good time there. You really would. You probably wouldn't know any of that happened until we go and make a podcast about it. But it's not this big scene.
Well,
you know.
Exactly. And we have very good friends that are sober that come every year. And my friend that I brought with me doesn't drink. So, you know, it's a big eclectic mix from really all spectrums of society. I always used to say, I remember early Martinfest having a circle about 5 guys talking at the pavilion, and if it was a game show and I had to guess which one was the big rig truck driver, which one was the senior partner from a law firm, and I literally would have thought they were the opposite people. So it's all kinds of people, all walks of life, and it's always great to see people that seem somewhat unassuming, somebody that now looks like, you know, somebody's old grandpa, and you forget that, you know, when they were young, they were playing Pink Floyd, and they still are playing Pink Floyd, you know, and so, and that was great. That's on Sunday, so we're getting ahead of ourselves. But a guy who had been at the first Martinfest, very unassuming, again, a guy who drove trucks for a living, and he asked me at the very first Martinfest if we wanted to get away from the people jamming and play some fingerstyle stuff, and just blew me away with these classical etudes that he composes himself.
Yeah.
And he was there on Sunday with a non-Martin, I think the Yamaha makes them. They're called Trans Audio, I think is what they're called, but it's a classical guitar with an amplifier in it.
Transacoustic.
You don't even see.
Transacoustic, yeah.
Transacoustic.
You're thinking of the pickup manufacturer who's going to be on our podcast in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. It's exactly what I'm thinking of. I'm getting them mixed up. Sorry about that. Trans Audio, who will be appearing soon on Martins and More.
Don't be sorry. We're recording this today because they couldn't make it today. They should be sorry.
That's correct. But anyway, it's a pretty amazing thing. So he wanted to demonstrate that you can turn the chorus and reverb way up to make these really kind of spooky Robert Fripp sounds. So Maury takes it and starts playing the opening of Wish You Were Here. And that other fella I guess I haven't actually mentioned him yet, that had been in our little song circle on Sunday. He started playing Wish You Were Here right along with him. So, not Wish You Were Here, I'm sorry, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. It wasn't Wish You Were Here, it was Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
I played the whole song, all 6 parts.
And speaking of guitars, he was playing it on his 1996 0028 EC, first year of production for an Eric Clapton model. The top is almost brown from the sun, and it's... this was back when all of the necks were hand carved. So very surprisingly low, a modified low profile, absolutely wonderful guitar that I got to play throughout the weekend here and there. So it was a very cool guitar. Another first year of production guitar Oh boy, now I'm thinking, getting my guitars mixed up. I also got to play another first year of production. Oh, it was 2015, D18. That's the year that they changed the D18 from straight braces in what we used to call the standard position to the forward shifted scallop bracing, and added all the vintage features like the herringbone trim and open back tuners, all those things. And so it's from that very first year, and modified low oval profile, but it was quilted mahogany. It looked like an animal pelt. Yes.
It's not 2015. That's not the first year of that.
Is it
2012?
Oh my goodness! Is it really?
Yep.
It went back that long? Wow. Okay. Well, I apologize to the owner. I told him it was first year of production. Yeah. It wasn't first year of production then. Oh, wow. I was getting my guitars mixed up, but it was stunning and beautiful quilting on it. That it was just on a standard D18. He just lucked out and got stuff that looked like a spotted cat. It was really, really impressive. But very cool guitars. And this is, if you like guitars, you like Martin guitars, you want an opportunity to see and hear and get a chance to play a model you've only read about, it's a great place to come. Though most people are perfectly happy to go home with the date they brought to the party because they like their own Martin guitars so much. But
can I talk of a quick regret right now before I forget it?
Sure.
You pulled me aside, I think it might have been Sunday night, and you said, since your D45's here, this person would really like to play it. And I said, oh, of course. And that's all I thought about it. I didn't go and seek that person out. I didn't watch him coming around for his turn in the song circle and say, stop, do this. He played one of the most chilling versions of a Neil Young tune that he made a big deal to tell me. He said, you and Spoon are not going to know what I'm talking about. And again, we're not going to give a lot away, but this person floored me. And I thought, next time he plays that, I'd love to hear it on my 45 just so I could hear it. Then you go and tell me he wants to play your guitar, and I sit there and I watch him start that song, and I just listen, forget all about it, and I go home and I wake up. And I wake up 3 days after NASFest. Why didn't I put that in his hands? Now I want to hear him play that song on a D45. You picked mine up and played a really cool Crosby tune, but that kind of thing where you think you're having the best time, and of course you are having a great time, but moments like that where somebody pulls you aside, somebody pulls you up and tells you this person wants to play that instrument, you say, okay, like I want to go back. I want to redo 3 or 4 things. If we could all just clear our calendars this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if we could all go back just for a couple songs each night, I know I'd want to hear more things in a different setting. But
the story I was saving, you talk about comical guffaws. So this fella who had been at the early Martinfest, really good player, good singer, jovial guy. He used to come, I think he came to the first 4 with his best friend who then passed away. So he wouldn't come anymore. But then he came last year and, life is short, post-pandemic, had a wonderful time, couldn't wait to get back. He couldn't wait to get back so much that he declared to his wife, that's it, I'm packing up, I'm going to Martinfest. And he's Pennsylvania, not that far away, but, 90 minutes, whatever. And he goes and he pulls into the park and goes up to the pavilion and it's deserted. And he thinks, oh my, they must all be up at Martin's on Main. And he goes up to Martin's on Main and he goes in and there's all these people breaking down tables and stuff. And he's like looking around and he hears a lady say, you look like you're confused. And he said, well, I'm here for Martin's on Main. And she said, well, this is the farmer's market. Let me look it up for you. And she said, Martin's on Main. Oh, that's next month.
Are you serious?
So he came the next to last weekend in June because he wanted to get to Martinfest so bad.
Oh man! Off air, tell me who that was.
And I'll just let you know, folks. Yeah, just a word of warning. You come to Martinfest, that's what's going to happen. You won't be able to wait until you can get back to the next one. And
so did he wait there?
No, he did not. Like I said, fortunately, he was relatively local. He went home and was happy to come back this weekend.
Oh, man.
But
that sounds like something I would do, and it wasn't me. Was it me? No.
No, it wasn't you. Wasn't you. So can you think of any other guitars that stand out to you? I've been mentioning guitars.
I really, really liked. I'll be respectful and not name a bunch of names. A gentleman who came for the first time last year, and we were introduced through our luthier friend from Higgins. He brought a couple of custom shop models. You might have mentioned it already, but it was a Groon Sinker that was really impressive. I really liked Murphy from New York, who plays a 40-something small body guitar. That always does the Crosby
28,
stuff.
yeah, 40. Yeah, I think his is a 44 as well.
There was an OM28V from, we can say first names, right? Fred's OM28V that's nothing really old. It's kind of a modern guitar. That sounded really good. I don't remember what year. There was a song circle going on where it stayed pretty quiet pretty long, and it was I want to say it was a smaller body mahogany. No, it was an old one. It was an old 0015. Really blew my mind. It sounded like I would swear the top was Sitka. It did not have any muffle to it. Typically, a mahogany top's going to be a little bit reserved, and I don't know what happens in that many years, but it didn't sound like VTS Sitka. It sounded like VTS mahogany, but that was really punchy and really percussive.
If it was vintage, it would have been a 0017.
Yeah, you're right.
Was basically the same styling, but there may have been in like an old W0015 from the late 20th century. One of our favorite friends, who also is relatively new to Martinfest but has gotten really involved with the organization of it and helping out. He just bought himself a 2004 0015. An old former school teacher of his had one. He always wanted to get one. He just bought it this week, as a matter of fact. Speaking of 0015s, you mentioned Tony's really loud guitar. The fellow who was talking about the bluegrass tunes, he had a NAMM show special custom that was cocobolo with beautiful sapwood, like a long sapwood diamond in the center of the back. And it may have been, I think it was Adirondack, very tight grain, so it was probably Adirondack top. It was giant, and it was a 14-fret slot head, gigantically loud. But he's a powerful player, and so he usually has the loudest guitar, but regardless of the model. But the custom, the Groon, you mentioned the Groon. He also had a beautiful Honduras rosewood 12-fret 00. That with like tiger stripe mahogany, Spanish cedar neck, and alpine spruce top, and really high altitude, what they call moon spruce, where they harvest it at a certain phase in the moon. I think the new moon, when the gravity is at the lowest, and so supposedly the sap stays lower in the tree. It's supposed to basically take off 6 years of seasoning on the wood. And he also had, I don't know if many people saw it, he had the Lawrence Juber Guatemalan Rosewood Custom Edition #1 that also has a moon spruce top. So those were fabulous guitars. So I'm glad you brought him up to remind me. Somebody brought a D42. I'm trying to remember the year now. It may have been from the 80s, I think 86 maybe. D42 that he was playing in Celtic tunings often. That was a joy to play. I really enjoyed that guitar a lot.
Are you thinking of the gentleman that brought it over from across the sea in a giant cooler?
That's correct. Actually, it was a shotgun case. He bought this flight case for a shotgun so that he could keep his refreshments in the shell box next to it.
Reason I asked, that's a 98, I think. I'm pretty sure that's a 98 D42.
98. Oh, yeah, okay, 98 D42.
And 98 cans of beer in the case with it.
Not for long. But, so I have to say, it was, and here's another great instrument story. So the original story is that the fella came, my guy I went to college with, he had been playing guitar since his 30s, but it wasn't until he found an old baritone uke in his dad's closet that it really converted him, and really that's what he started really playing and performing open mics with in Arizona, So he came, his first year, he came hoping to get a Martin baritone ukulele. And I got Tim Teal to get some people out from the custom shop, and they said, can't do it. We don't have the molds for them anymore. We don't do baritone ukes. They only made them for like 4 years in the mid-'60s, early to mid-'60s. And they don't have serial numbers, so you can't even date them. But his definitely smells of high glue. So his was pre-66 at the earliest, but probably pre-66. And he was sitting there disappointed, shaking hands when a friend of ours who I didn't get to see this year, I don't know if he was there Saturday or not, he came by and said, what are you guys shaking hands about? And he said, well, I was hoping to get a baritone ukulele. They don't make them. And he said, come with me. Went out to the parking lot, got a 1962, we think, baritone uke that he was brought to sell for a friend. And so my friend bought it. So cut to this year. So he's delighted, and he loves it. He brings it and plays it every year. He brings it this year, and another friend of ours who's getting on in years and their arthritis doesn't want to play guitar anymore. She picked up an exquisite, very mint condition B51 baritone uke. So they were comparing them, and they had them side by side, and we're playing music together with two relatively obscure Martins. So that was a joy to watch and get a little bit on video and get some pictures of. So those are very cool guitars. And if you don't know, baritones they're tuned exactly like a guitar. So they're tuned like the EBGD of a guitar. So you don't have to learn new chords to play them. So they come in very handy in that respect.
Speaking of coming in handy, I don't want to let this podcast go too long without bringing up a good friend of ours who did a lot this weekend. I know this year was technically unofficial, and if the unofficial Martin Guitar Forum Martinfest has always been unofficial, it's been even less official this year. It wasn't really moderated. We didn't have anything connected to the Martin on Main. It was very just show up and have a good time and go home. But you can't do that unless somebody takes the effort and initiative to make sure that the hotel is going to give us enough rooms, make sure the room rate's going to be correct, make sure we have 3 rooms to play in. And I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but I met him a few years ago. Jim, I won't even say his last name, but Jim F, you really went above and beyond. And for you to take as much time as you did, all the behind the scenes nobody gets to see from January, February through the spring, making sure that this can happen. And ironically, you told us some good stories at dinner where you did what you had to do in the winter months to make sure this worked with somebody at the hotel. That person decides to quit. You check up on things in the spring, trying to make sure that everything you negotiated is going to come to pass, and find out you have to start all over again. Long story short, I know everybody that I talked to, including Spoon and myself, want to say a big thank you to making sure we had somewhere to play. And it was just, I know you're going to be too modest to even say thank you, but you deserve to be thanked. And it was a really great time. That's not a dig at any moderators or anybody else who did all the hard work. Every Martinfest, this year going backwards, had a team of people that did all that stuff, and we owe them a debt of gratitude as well. But Jim, you really did make sure everything worked well. And except for air conditioning not working, which is no one's fault, I think everything besides, like we said earlier, people that can't be here for good or bad reasons, I really think it was a very, very successful weekend. I can't complain in any respect about, one little part of it. And a lot of that's got to do with Jim. So if you know who I'm talking about, give Jim a big pat on the back. And I just want to say thank you again.
Well, one name I am going to mention is David Musselwhite, who was the go-to repair guy at the Martin Guitar Factory for many years until he retired. He's the guy that, was the only person allowed to work on Stephen Stills, pre-war D45, that kind of stuff. He's been in private practice. He's retired now, but mainly as renovating Martins for people to get them back into great playing shape. And he had Jim's D35 for a year, so it was great to see Jim be reunited with it. He said it was like a completely different guitar in terms of its playability and intonation and all that stuff.
Wow.
So he enjoyed the heck out of that, playing Lyle Lovett songs and his own amazing, beautiful original tunes. And he's one of these guys that could never come to Martinfest until he could retire. I and another friend of mine worked at a company in New York City for years and years and years, and this guy was the head of the computer security at the home office in D.C. But we knew each other, and rarely could get together and play guitar together. But he heard about Martinfest for 10 years, 12 years. And when he retired, he finally came. and absolutely loved it. And every year he's one of the last people playing at the end of the night. And I have to say, for all his hard work and some of the headaches he had to put up with, I don't think anybody enjoyed this year's Martinfest as much as he did. And so he was always there. And, by my own count, let's see, Wednesday I was in bed by 1 because I was sharing a room with a Westerner until the next day. When I got my own room, it was 12, 1, 3:30, and 5:30. So, and James was always there. I went to leave him a voicemail message for his birthday, and I said, this is James Mason. I can't even do it now. I do a pretty good James Mason when I warm up. This is James Mason leaving a special celebrity message for James F. And then at the end I said, that the celebrity on this recording disavows all knowledge or connection to the participant and the reception, the person on the receiving end. Blah blah. Yeah, this long disclaimer about it. But anyway.
Well, can I tell you something?
Anyway, yes.
You're the first person since I've talked to. Well, you're first person that I talked to at NASFest or since that talked about Dave Musselwhite without doing a Dave Musselwhite. Do you have his impression?
No.
Everybody that I talked to said I talked to Dave and he was telling me, and they go on this Dave Musselwhite voice. They couldn't tell me what Dave said without trying to sound like Dave Musselwhite.
No, I don't. I mean, Maury, I don't tend to do the Dave Musselwhite mosey in the voice the way some people do. So,
and I'm going to say it right now, or I'll forget. We should get him on this show. He would be a great guest.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I'll reach out to him, see if he'd be willing to do it. He's one of those, as they used to say in the Prairie Home Companion, one of those shy persons who doesn't necessarily like the limelight. But he still has got some good jokes. My laptop's not plugged into power, I just realized. But I think we're doing okay for the time being. But I think we may drop shortly. I've done this to you once before, but...
We're past the hour, so we don't have to stay a lot longer. Why don't we... do you want to tell that joke you told at dinner, or do you want to do 20 questions?
No, I'm not going to tell the joke. That was a joke from our beloved moderator down in Texas, and it was actually a joke you could tell a family gathering, which is unusual for him. But I'm not going to share it. But I'll just close out by saying Sunday was after we had the group pictures and the memorial service that we have every year for people who can no longer come to Martinfest, and it was a very nice lazy day, a little bit of a jam circle. I started a little song circle, heard from more great guitars and great singing. Becca just absolutely killed into the Mystic. That was just through the roof, and so was the fellow with the first year Eric Clapton did a beautiful Something, George Harrison's song Something.
I missed that.
And and he did other great songs in the song circle, and just blew my friend away by doing the aria that I'm going to mess up. That I guess Pavarotti's. It was always Pavarotti's ending song, but it's from Turandot, and she was just blown away that somebody would play opera, but on flat picking an opera tune.
That was wild.
Which for him was his send up to Jeff Beck, who had done it as well in electric guitar. But yeah, great stuff. You had mentioned, got to mention the fella who, same person who did the chilling Neil Young song, did one of my compositions from my album. And not just any composition, but The White Lady of Tutbury, which is like a 6.5 minute long tone poem, ghost story, instrumental with 3 different measures and all that stuff. And I have to say, I was so just pleased as punch when the room was silent. He was the only person, I think, the entire weekend that I saw shut a room up, and everybody was just mesmerized with his playing. And he's also relatively new. He's actually a scientist NASA scientist who came in. This is his second year, so he was a Green Dot last year. And I love watching Green Dots be very nervous about playing in front of people, but by the end of their first night, they're like, "And let me show you this one." And they're still going to be self-conscious, but and saw some other shy persons really finally performing in the song circles and feeling very welcome. And it's a very safe, nurturing place to share your music with friends and strangers, because they don't stay strangers for very long. So I encourage everyone that can to come to Martinfest and share your music with us.
Actually, you bring up a very good point, how the shy people that are there for the first time are a little bit, timid. And somebody forgot to tell that to the Green Dot this year, because he sat in front of us right next to Marshall and bang, just played this really crazy, fast fingerstyle jig and put us all on notice that I ain't doing that. I'm just here for the first time crap. I'm here. Check me out. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool.
I missed that.
Oh, man, you should have seen it.
Did you get that on video?
I did. And I thought, and I thought to myself, in the cutest little way, I thought, do you know you're sitting next to Marshall, our pal? And of course he did. And that only happened an hour before I found him in another song circle, sitting with our friend that has the M36 conversion. And you talked about him earlier. I'll just, for the sake of this podcast, he's one of the most talented fingerstyle players you'll see that weekend. He sat with him and played in front of him, at him, and with him. And I thought, well, whatever kind of initiation you're supposed to go through, you skipped that, and it was so cute, because none of it's a competition in any respect. But if anybody's supposed to have butterflies, or supposed to feel like, oh my God, that guy's on another level, so is he, well, so am I. And it was great to see somebody come in there, probably for the first time in a long time, and not have any jitters at all.
Are you guys talking about the guy who was playing the 0015? Or was this a different guy?
I thought he had an X Series or Road Series.
No, well, the guy that had the Road Series, that's probably who you're talking about. He borrowed his Road Series from his Martinfest friend that he came to visit. And I saw him doing a beautiful song that he wrote for his wife. I think he wrote it when they got married, but he's, he that was a long time ago, and he's, still plays it, still beautiful, still plays it for, I think, every anniversary or whatever. So I think that's maybe the same guy. I didn't get to see him fingerpick, but the fella that was there Saturday night that came up from Baltimore, who does perform, he's on YouTube and stuff, and he was probably one of the youngest people there.
That's who I mean.
He was playing the 0015. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
No, that's a
we're talking about
0015.
two different people. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 0015. It was a very. He said it had a pristine top, but he got it. It doesn't have a pristine top now. So he definitely plays his guitars, but he's proud of them. He's proud of the playing wear. Doesn't look like Maury's guitar. But.
Well, he never got the memo about being nervous, so.
Oh yeah. And I hardly got to spend any time with him. So, but he's definitely coming back, and I look very forward to. I'm hoping. Just like the couple that was there. They were there briefly last year for Martin's on Main, stopped by the hotel. They were at the hotel on Sunday night, and she said, we're definitely going to try to come back for the whole thing next year. So it does that to you. Here again, you've been warned. It's like the Twilight Zone episode where the guy steps off the train and it's 1910. You'll just keep coming back for more, and then eventually you won't ever want to leave.
And I don't want to name anybody, but I know who you're talking about, and they both offered to buy me a real pizza next time I'm passing through town. So I'm going to take you up on that in October.
Excellent. Well, here's my closing story. She came as the wife of a guy that plays at Celtic festivals and will accompany him on the Irish drum and stuff. She said, "All right, I'll go to this guitar gathering in Pennsylvania, this Martin guitar thing. I can go and what's the big deal? I'll go once." And by the end of her first Martinfest, she was like, she didn't want it to end, and she said, in the car as they're pulling out, "Can we come next year?" And they've been there as far as I know, they've been there ever since. So you've been warned. Those of you who have yet to experience Martinfest. So,
knowing who you mean, that's so funny that she ever thought she might not come to another one. There's no way, no. And she's the only drummer that I know of too, so she has job security.
Sorry about that, Reese.
Oh, I mean that kind of drum, the Celtic drum. I'm sorry, Reese.
He didn't mean it.
That's getting edited out because he's not a Patreon.
My Martinfest general adventure, I said, one of my favorite Martinfest moments is always getting to hear Reese singing a Bruce Springsteen song and seeing the utter joy he has of doing that at Martinfest. And so I only got to see him do it once this year. I can't wait. Again, I can't wait till next year. So,
yeah, there's a really, really great picture in the UMGF somewhere from I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, back when you could find people playing in a song circle everywhere, including the food room. And it was him and Marshall and someone else. And I forget who's singing what. Marshall might be singing something. And Reese's expression, it could be a poster. I forget what they were even doing. But just knowing that moment, and if I go and see that picture again, my heart goes right back to how that felt. And Reese is a gigantic part of why these things are fun. I think the end of this episode is way more important to be bogged down with 20 questions. So I owe you a game of that next time you have your computer plugged in. But my closing argument is going to definitely be, I'm really, really thankful. I'm not going to get sad, but I'm really thankful that, for better or worse, a lot of people recognize, how many of us aren't able to come back to this for terrible reasons. It seemed like we made more of an effort to give a hug and really recognize how much of a luxury it is that we do get to keep doing this. Not only that we have our health, but we get to, make it back to Nazareth physically and do all this stuff. How many people are we extremely close with that, couldn't make it till the last minute and had good intentions? I'm smart enough to know that this isn't going to happen for 40 more years and be, easy every time. I really want to say thank you to you because as much as you and I, quote unquote, work together doing this, and we've talked a lot weekly, more in the last 2 or 3 years than we ever used to. I still really appreciate the opportunity that you and I don't go missing each other the whole weekend, and the time we spent together meant a lot to me too. So I know we only played officially on stage once, and we practiced a little bit. Getting to spend some time with you in a way that's away from this stuff and playing the guitars instead of just talking about them, I really appreciated that too.
What is your name again?
So you have to do that. Can I
of
change
course
my
I have
answer?
to do that. I have to do that. Are you kidding me? Yes. Yeah. No. I my affection for you is like the sea. So I don't get to see you as much as I used to get. And now with Maury's Music not being a Martin dealer, I have fewer excuses that I can afford to get out there and see you guys. So I think we naturally gravitate to each other. I've had a great time having dinner, on Saturday night, and so we can't see each other again soon enough. So,
who are you?
Till the next time.
Yes. Mine's in the wash. From all of us at Martins and More, thanks for listening.
Hear you later.